Welcome to this special edition of One-on-One with Mitch LaFon. I've got Bruce Kulick with me today talking about the Rock For Ruben Benefit concert taking place at the House of Blues on Sunset Strip in California, August 20th. Reuben unfortunately has been diagnosed with cancer, and we've got Rick Springfield, Kenny Aronoff, Bruce Kulick, Gilby Clarke, James Lomenzo, ELLIOTT EASTON of the Cars, John Five, getting together to play some Kiss songs and some other songs to raise money for Ruben Velasco. And of course, you can also check out rickspringfield.com/rock-for-ruben or youcaring.com /Rubens Cancer Fund. I won't take up much more of your time. Here's Bruce Kulick explaining the event, and thank you for listening. We are speaking with Bruce Kulick, Grand Funk Railroad's guitarman and former Kiss guitarman. We're talking about a guy named Ruben Velasco and a project called Rock For Ruben. So Bruce, first of all, how you doing? And explain a little bit what Rock For Ruben is.
Right. Well, hello, Mitch, and thanks for having me. And it isn't really a project. This is an important event, because this guy, Reuben, who I've never met, but I do understand he's a huge Kiss fan, has been one of those kind of loyal behind-the-scenes guys for Rick Springfield. And Rick works really hard. I do know that he's out there all the time gigging, and he's loved around the world, and he's such an amazing, performer and all. And it's funny, me looking at some YouTubes last night of Rick, that I actually did see Reuben, probably his main tech guy, run out to pick up the microphone and make sure everything's right. And when I heard about the fact that through the management, because I have a connection with one of the guys who manages Rick, when he asked me if I would be in town in LA on the 20th, I believe it's the 20th coming up, right?
Yep.
I happen to be. I leave the next day for gigs with Grand Funk, but and then he told me the situation where this guy Reuben, who's very dear to Rick and the band, is very sick with a stage. They're calling it a stage 4 cancer. I don't know all the particulars, but it's a very dangerous situation, and they felt they had to do something for him. And Wayne Sharp, the guy as part of Rick's managers, told me that Reuben was a huge Kiss fan, and knowing that I kind of. Not that I don't think met Rick yet, and I'm looking forward to seeing him at rehearsal tomorrow, and then of course doing the gig. But I've always heard wonderful things about him, and I was just, of course, I said yes right away, and then it kind of evolved from there. And it's very interesting how all things kind of connect to Kiss in some way with this event, even though it's really where Rick will be doing a full hour set, I believe. But I get a chance to perform 6 Kiss songs, and I was able to recruit some really amazing players to be part of the Kiss set for Reuben. And that's going to be, first we have on drums Kenny Aronoff, who I think I don't have to describe his resume, but and my connection with Kenny, besides the fact that I did another benefit earlier in the year with him, and he's just such a monster drummer, is that he appears on 2 of my solo records, Audio Dog and Transformer, actually. So, no, I'm sorry, Audio Dog and BK3.
Right.
So he's a terrific drummer, and he could chart anything, and he loves it. And I was really sure to send him some of the more live concert Kiss versions that I wanted him to learn, not, the studio, which some drummers accidentally do when they realize Kiss has always been about the live performance. We all know that.
Absolutely.
And so he's on drums, and James Lomenzo, who I have a funny connection with. Of course, he's from White Lion, but he's played with many other people. And
Megadeth.
He's out with Megadeth, correct. He's out with Fogerty right now when they do those gigs with Kenny, actually, as the bass player. But and I ran into him not that long ago at the airport, both of them, on different days when I was busy traveling this summer. But James, White Lion did gigs with Kiss years ago. And James was also part of that amazing race reality TV show.
Yes.
That he partnered with Mark Abatista, known as ABBA, who's actually, a dear friend and, my manager, lawyer too.
Right.
So there's always this funny connection with James and I. from the past and kind of current. And he's an amazing bass player and singer. So he's great. I couldn't believe how well he sang some of the Kiss stuff when we did that event earlier in the year.
Right.
And then to round it out, we got Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses.
Yep.
And I've gigged many times with Gilby as like that special guest guy at a NAMM event that he got booked at, or a club somewhere in the LA area. And Gilby's always traveling worldwide, doing his solo stuff, and obviously the history with him with Guns N' Roses will carry him very far, as you can imagine.
Yeah, in fact, Gilby is coming to Canada in the fall. He's got a whole tour, including Montreal and Ottawa and stuff. So I look forward to catching Gilby live, actually.
Yeah, and he just had a birthday, I think, yesterday. I saw on Facebook. So that's the connection of my band. And then I have to make the side note that what's really funny that I was actually resistant to in the very beginning, but I'm thinking like this is for this guy who's in grave danger, Ruben's health. And his favorite Kiss song, ironically, is Rocket Ride by Ace, okay? Right. And I was like, oh, well, I've heard the song a few times. I know it's a track. I've never played it.
But your brother did.
Yeah. Well, no, that's all Ace on that.
No, that's right. It's Ace on that one.
Yeah. No, Bob is on some of the other studio tracks of the Alive 2 disc. But, that's a terrific song. I have to admit, once I took it apart, because anytime I learn something to perform, I really analyze everything. Of course, figure out all the riffs and the chords, and what a terrific song that is. I'm really looking forward, and that will be man. I mean, my history with Kiss is long, but I've never played Rocket Ride. Okay. And I don't even think it ever came up at like one of those impromptu unplugged type of things with Kiss during the all those times too. You know what I mean? Right. And of course, we used to look at other oddball material or off the beaten track kind of songs. But this is I'm actually really excited about doing it. So
will you be singing it, or is Rick Springfield singing?
No. I really want to let my guitar playing do the talking.
Okay.
I'm not sure on that one if it's going to be Gilby or James, but they're both really good lead singers. So one of those guys will handle it. And actually, if you think about it, it sounds like Ace has doubled on all the choruses anyway. So they'll probably both sing the chorus. It was kind of ironic hearing my wife, Lisa, say, like, man, those lyrics are kind of, that's kind of sex lyrics, And then I wasn't even thinking about, the words, because I try to take apart the notes and the chords. And she's right, so.
Well, yeah, it ain't kind of sex lyrics. They definitely are full-on sex lyrics. But you've also got John Five and ELLIOTT EASTON on this one.
Yeah. Now, Elliott's going to sit in, I believe, with Rick's band. And he's such a terrific guitar player who's played with, I mean, not only, of course, his fame from the Cars, but he's played with people, like he's done session work for the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson. And I've done some work with him at the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. He's a tremendous guitar player. And I think that's really cool. And then the other one that we should mention that got involved, and I'm not sure, he might have a relationship with Rick or the management, I'm not sure, but John Five wanted to be involved, who's another one that is, of course, connected to the Kiss world with his, work with Paul on one of the solo records, and the fact that he's one of those Kiss fanatics, who has, I think he collects like vintage Kiss posters or something. He's quite the Kiss fan. I'm not sure if everyone knows that, but he is.
Yeah, he's a huge Kiss fan. So let's just make sure we get all the plugs in there. You can go over to rickspringfield.com/rock-for-ruben to donate and look up the information on the concert. And there's also youcaring.com/Rubens Cancer Fund. So, what cancer exactly does he have? I mean, how critical is it? Do you know?
I think he's in a lot of danger, actually. And I don't, all I know is when I heard a little bit of the story, I just said to Wayne, I'm in, you know what I mean? I don't want to, I can't wait to give the guy a hug on Wednesday, or maybe he'll be there tomorrow at rehearsal. But the point is, he means a lot to Rick, and the fact that he's such a Kiss fan. I know that the mention of I Walk Alone came up, you know what I mean, with Wayne. Wayne told me that story with Reuben. But, I just know that this will help whatever's coming in the sense of medical bills, right. and it's real important. I did want to mention also that I heard from Wayne, and now I saw it online at one of the sites you mentioned. I was really impressed with Kiss. They're on tour, of course, doing that huge Def Leppard Kiss tour, which is amazing.
Which I saw, and it was good.
Yeah, yeah, and I did too as well. But what was amazing was the fact that they all gave, both Paul, Tommy, and Gene gave one of their like signature model guitars signed, and then Eric has a deal with the drum company for one of his signature snare drums.
Right.
So that's all part. That package is also on that website, and that was very, very cool of them to donate. I know they couldn't be involved; they're on the road, but that's a cool auction item for sure.
Yeah, I know you're aware that last year my wife's father passed away to cancer. Did you have any kind of brush with cancer in your personal life? 'Cause, I mean, it's just a horrible disease, and it's nice to see everybody sort of band together to help Reuben.
My closest one, and fortunately, it hadn't been really something personally family-wise, but I certainly consider Eric Carr family, and as you know,
right.
that was how he died.
Yes, of course.
It started with some illness, and them realizing he had some sort of growth, on his heart, and they had to do open heart surgery, and then they thought they removed it all, and it turned out to be a cancerous tumor. And then, of course, he dealt with the radiation, and it did. There was a period of time when it was in submission, and then, if that's the right word, right, remission. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Remission. And then the next thing I know, I think it started to act up or something, and then it got in his bloodstream, and that's when it got really, dangerous for him, and that's when he wound up with an aneurysm, which I think really, again, it was the cancer that killed him, but it turned out because of that. And then, Doug Feiger's another one that performed on B3 for me from the Knack.
Yes.
And I remember when I did some work with him for the fantasy camp that he was a counselor, that's when he told all the counselors the story, and that he was, dealing with this lung cancer situation, and what a brave guy that went to his brain also. And he did a lot of experimental things, but eventually he succumbed to the disease as well. I know he was able to get his life, all his wishes or whatever he had to do in order before his passing, but oh my God, that was really, hard for me too, but all these people, I can't imagine, no matter what stress is on Ruben's mind, him not having the time of his life on Wednesday night to see a performance dedicated to him by his close family, meaning, Rick's band, and then to have these other artists come out and support him, So I'm very, very dedicated to making the evening a success.
Yeah, I really hope it turns out great for him in terms of raising funds and people coming out, because it's an important thing. So let's remind folks, it's youcaring.com, Rubens Cancer Fund, and of course rickspringfield.com/rock-for-Reuben. And just before I let you go, Bruce, can I just ask you one last question just on the passing of Dick Wagner? I mean, that really hit me hard. What did you think of Dick?
Well, I did. Graham Funk had a show with him,
right.
About, I think it was 2 years ago. I don't really think it was last year,
right.
But it was up in Traverse City. I was aware through my brother, who would keep in touch with Dick, because they both did the Alice Cooper tour in Australia many years ago. It was Dick that brought my brother in to play guitar for, ironically enough, Mark Farner on his first solo record back in 74 that Dick produced. I mean, the connections of all these people is so, kind of interesting, especially with my 14 years now with Grand Funk. But of course, I know Mark as well through the fantasy camp. Just that I knew he had some really scary health problems, and my brother would share that with me. That maybe a lot of the general public didn't know. And I was very happy to see him at that event in Traverse City. And I remember going backstage and giving him my BK3 CD, and I was so excited to say hi and wish him well. And it was exciting to see him play. I'm such a fan. I even have some of the early solo records. I remember my brother turned me on to, even the Frost, that other thing. And I will mention, because he deserves the credit, it wasn't something that we talked about during my Kiss years, but he actually did play the solo on Every Time I Look at You on Revenge. Yep. And I mean, when how that happened was kind of unusual, but he was there at the right time, recording actually in another studio at the place here in L.A. And I was on like a weekend holiday, and those guys were stressed to play a song for the label, and they needed a solo on it. They were thinking there were certain things they could like kind of get an advantage of with Polygram and A&M. It was just political. And he's such a tremendous session guy, especially. And he really nailed an amazing solo. Of course, I was a little shocked at first when I heard it, and I was like, I still want to take a stab at it. But there was nothing I could do that would be better than that guitar solo. In fact, he used one of my guitars. And then, I dare anyone to say they can hear a difference when I performed it live on Unplugged.
Right.
Because Dick being one of my guitar heroes, and being in that vein of, kind of just that British blues guitar playing, the way he approaches his licks, made it very easy for me to capture it, But, I know he eventually did talk about it, and I never denied it, but it wasn't something that, was always brought up. But I really always felt like I wasn't as shocked maybe as you when he passed away, as much as I felt really bad. And I know it really shook up my brother because he was one of those guys that gave my brother opportunities. And you never forget the people that kind of like, find some of your best gigs, what I mean? So I decided not to be one of the people to make a comment on social media, because so many other people that knew him better and worked with him personally were able to. But it was that was really sad. But I just knew he had heart troubles, or something. And so for me, with knowing the history and how bad he was at certain times, I wasn't as shocked as maybe the general. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I know he had heart surgery or heart problems, and he had a stroke, but I don't know. It's always shocking when somebody that you just sent an email to and answered you 2 days before suddenly passes away. You go, oh, okay. Anyway, but let's get back to, not to sound rude or anything, but let's just get back to Ruben Velasco. Again, YouCaring.com, Ruben's Cancer Fund, and of course the concert August 20th at the House of Blues in California, Los Angeles.
They're going to be tearing down that place I think this year.
Wow.
So if you have like some curiosity, it is a venue with tremendous history really in Los Angeles. I think they need to find another location is what I believe I read in the papers, but it was ironic. My mother told me, they're tearing down the House of Blues, and she's 90. I go, how do you know that? I read it in the newspaper. It was in the LA Times. I was like, I love it when my mother's a source of like, entertainment news, especially that's like a venue that I've been to many times and performed at. So it really is a great place, and it's going to be a fun night for everybody. And I look forward to people coming out and support, the event for sure.
Absolutely, and someday we'll have to discuss what the heck's going on with Sunset Strip. I mean, Tower Records is gone, Gazzari's is gone, or whatever it was called after that, and now the House of Blues. It's poor Sunset.
Well, I think you're going to find another venue for that. I think that had to do with probably the real estate being maybe really prime right there, and for whatever reason, the lease might be up. I'm not sure, but they will find another location. I hope. But I got to tell you, I mean, briefly, just look, the industry is always changing. Let's talk about how about where Electric Lady is in the Village. I saw some pictures online of Ace, and it made me really miss Electric Lady because he's, his record's coming out this week, and he's going to do a lot of promo. But I loved seeing a photo of Electric Lady, and there was Ace at Electric Lady. 8th Street used to be like a mecca for, all things rock and roll and all. And that street, it has nothing to do with anything anymore, okay, in that way. So, it's just, I don't know. The Strip will always be like a club area, and there'll always be some sort of rock and roll connection. But you just have to understand that business, commerce, and like what we love in the sense of entertainment doesn't always make sense, and how it all shakes out. But there's always great places to see bands here in Los Angeles. This is definitely one of the premier places to get entertainment. I prefer to see artists in other places because it's a little easier to deal with sometimes. LA's got the traffic and the crowds, But in fact, I couldn't believe I actually went, but I have to mention to everybody. I mean, Paul McCartney, to see him at Dodger Stadium was historic. And I remember, knowing what a hassle it would be, because it's different going to a Dodger game or something at a stadium. You go to a rock concert, I had the seats on the field, which was great, but everything was just really hard to deal with. But it made it all worthwhile because to see a living legend like that and such a genius perform, and there were close to 50,000 people in that place. It was amazing, really amazing.
Paul McCartney always gives a fantastic show. So I just wish he would get back to Montreal. So hopefully someday.
I think don't worry, he's not retiring anytime soon, that's for sure.
No, and I don't see why he should. He seems to be in better shape than most 30-year-olds. So good for him. Absolutely good for him. Bruce, always a pleasure. And, of course, again, folks, go to rickspringfield.com, Rock For Ruben, and youcaring.com, Rubens Cancer Fund. And, Bruce, it's so great that I see you reaching out and helping. And of course, Kenny and James and Gilby and John Five and Elliott and Rick. It's a brilliant thing you're doing. Absolutely brilliant thing you're doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it, especially once I heard how he admitted that, well, my favorite band is Kiss. You know what I mean? Because let's face it, a Kiss thing with Rick Springfield, it does make sense for this, but would it otherwise? I'm not sure. Then again, I've seen Rick Springfield jam with the Foo Fighters and everything, so the guy is kind of iconic in that, in his kind of musical career too. So I'm excited about it.
He's a lot more rock and roll than people give him credit for. I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He did the soap opera, and it sort of softened his image. But the guy can play. He
can play. He rocks out. He's got a great band. I was watching some of the YouTubes last night, and I'm looking forward to the rehearsal tomorrow and the gig for sure. So thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime.